Good morning. I'd like to welcome everyone to the May 6th Board of Supervisors meeting. We have Pastor Brad Hales from the Reformation Lutheran Church with us today for the invocation. Pastor Hales, come forward.
Thank you.
And I'd ask everyone to please stand.
Let's go ahead and pray. Father in heaven, I do thank you and praise you so much for this day. Jesus, first of all, I thank you for the rain. We needed it, Lord God, so I thank you for that, and I thank you for the blessing of this meeting today for our Board of Supervisors. I ask, Lord God, that you give them wisdom and guidance, Lord, in their decision-making for this county to care for all here in Culpeper. Lord God, give them direction on what will be best for this area and its people. So bless them, Lord God, and just bless our whole community. I pray all these things in the name of the risen Savior, Jesus Christ of Nazareth. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor Hales. Supervisor Galgino, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I call the May 6th meeting to order. We have an agenda before us. Are there any additions or corrections to the agenda? Hearing none, we will move forward. First item is the consent agenda. Mr. McLaren, would you please read the consent agenda?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, members of the board. We do have a number of items under the consent agenda, and I'm going to read those. 2.02, letter A, the board will consider approval of the April 1st, 2025 AM and PM meeting minutes. Under item B, the board will consider adopting a resolution requesting VDOT to designate Route 628 Hazel River Road 3 segments as a rural rustic road. Item C, the board will consider adopting a resolution requesting VDOT to designate Route 706 Glen Ella Road, segments 1 and 2 as a rural rustic road. Item D, the board will consider adopting a resolution requesting VDOT to designate Route 624, which is Sheeds Mountain Road, segments 1 and 2 as a rural rustic road. Item E, the board will consider acceptance of a donation and budget amendment for the Animal Services Department. The Humane Society of Culpeper has donated $1,000 to be used for vet services. Item F, the board will consider acceptance of 2 donations totaling $1,500 for the Sheriff's Office and consider a budget amendment for the funds. Item G, the board will consider adopting an updated resolution of support for fiscal year 26 community project funding for Sims Drive. Under item H, the board will consider accepting a grant and approval of a budget amendment for the Parks and Recreation Department for funding received in the amount of $1,000. And then letter I, the board will consider a budget amendment for the Sheriff's Office to appropriate a portion of an insurance reimbursement received in FY24 for the flood which occurred in the jail in fiscal year 23.
Thank you, Mr. McLaren. Any discussion? Is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Our next item of business is general county business. Item 3.01, the board will consider adoption of a proposed tax rate for the calendar for the year 2025-26. Mr. McLaren, would you
Mr.
lead
Chairman,
us in this one?
Yes, sir. Thank you. The next 4 items actually on the agenda are related to the fiscal year 26 budget. The first item being the calendar 2025 this year tax rates that the board will consider. Posted on board docs are really 2. One at 44, which was the advertised real estate tax rate, 44 cents for your real estate tax rate. There was some discussion from the board at your work sessions, potentially not doing the full 44, but doing a 43. So there also is posted a tax rate, as you can see there, the second item at 43 cents. No changes to personal property tax rates. Those would remain the same for this year, for this calendar year. Those tax rates are based on the budget that was proposed and worked on for the past several months by the board. I'd be happy to entertain any questions.
Thank you, Mr. McLaren. Is there questions or discussion?
I have a question. So right now with the reflected budget, if we do 43, that will cover everything. 44 is planning for the future needs, large projects that will be coming up in the next few years.
Mr. Chairman, to Supervisor Gugino, I'm not sure I would couch it exactly that way. 44 cents, we're still using set-aside funds, so to help with debt management that we're incurring. At 43 cents, we're pulling more of those set-aside funds. So we're using some reserve funds that the board set aside specifically for debt management. You're just using more if you do it 43 versus 44. So.
Okay, and then next year will actually be a larger debt service that we.
Correct. Yes, we'll have additional debt servicing for the additional, hopefully $25 million literary loan fund that we need for the new elementary school and any other capital projects to go along with that. So there will be an increase next year no matter what for
Okay.
debt servicing.
And these increases are very specific to the school projects, which
Correct.
is as a result of all the growth that
This
we
year
have in the town and
specifically, we're
county.
looking at 2 debt servicing projects for the renovation of Culpeper Middle School with a little bit of addition, and then new elementary school. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Other questions? Further discussion? Is there a motion?
One else will, I will. I'll move we do 43 cents for the tax rate. I realize that we're doing a bit of set-asides. We're also not aggressively doing that. We're still keeping quite a few million in the debt shaving fund. I believe it's a reasonable tax rate for the year. It does mean 3 or 4 years from now, we're going to need some data center revenue to show up. So I make a motion that we approve the 43 cents as shown in the draft resolution in our packet.
Is there a second?
I second that.
We have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Mr. Rosenberger.
Mr. Chairman, I want to compliment everybody on the job that's been done on this budget, the staff as well as the board. I've sat here a long time, supported very few tax increases, but I've never supported one on the heels of a reassessment as we have seen here. And I, in all good conscience, cannot support that. I think we're very fortunate to have the tax rate that we have for the county that we do provide, the things that are provided in this county. But I will not support the tax increase. The real estate bothers me.
So you're saying you'd want it to be lower than 43? Okay, I understand. Well, I still support it, and this may be a first. I'm supporting a higher tax increase, but I believe staff has done the best they can getting to where we are, and I support the 43 cents.
Is there further discussion? Mr. Deal.
Yes, I would ask Supervisor Rosenberger, I like where you're coming from. I don't really want a tax increase either, but how will we make up the difference?
Well, it's a pay me now or pay me later situation, and then we all know, I hope, the cause of this tax increase. The development and the building that we're experiencing is causing the building of new schools. If we continue the route we're on, this is just a drop in the bucket to where we're going to be later on. So ultimately, I can't in good conscience, because of the fact that it's gone up so high, and it's gone up, and assessment value has gone up because of the development we've experienced. And in my estimation, people have paid a lot more for houses than they're actually worth, which kind of floors me. But ultimately, we are where we are.
Further discussion? Comments? I believe that a tax increase is always a rough thing to do. It has been a difficult few years financially for most of the taxpayers of Culpeper and everywhere. But we are facing growth, and I believe staff has done a very good job putting together a budget that has a minimal tax increase And I think it is the responsible thing for this board to do to approve the 43 cents that we have before us. So unless there is further questions or comments,
Yeah,
Mr. Deal.
yeah, Mr. Chairman, I have a comment to where I do think staff has done a great job in coordinating and procuring where we are today. I mean, this board and previous boards, as I've always said, has done an outstanding job with keeping the tax rate as low as it is. I mean, it's unbelievable, I think, where we are. I know the tax assessment and equalization is a protocol we have to go through, but every jurisdiction has to go through the same protocol. But where we are, if we pass this at 43 compared to other jurisdictions in the state, it's, if not the lowest, one of the lowest tax rates in Virginia. And you can even compare it to Madison County, which is a much smaller population, Orange, Rappahannock. They're all at least above 60 cents per $100 of assessed value, and I think more, to be honest. So I think they're in the, most of them are in the 80s, 90s, and over $1. So us at 43 cents, with all the things that we've done the last 5 or 6 years in recreation improvements, county improvements, and services for the public, to me is phenomenal. So I'm going to support the 43 cents.
Any further comments or questions, discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-1. Our next item of business, the board will consider adoption of the proposed operating and capital budget for fiscal year 2026. Mr. McLaren.
Mr. Chairman, this is the second piece of our budget-related items this morning. Posted on board docs is the full fiscal year 26 budget that was presented at a public hearing that the board hosted on April 21st. The budget is based, we based it on two different budgets, but we'll go with now the 43-cent budget there, which is also posted fiscal year 26. Equalization rate was 41, so that's a 2 cents increase. We do have proposed budget there, and we'll get into the separate documents after that. But we did, the only major difference, if you're looking at the two budgets side by side, really is that set-aside fund. That's the difference, the major difference between the two that are posted on there, Mr. Chairman. And I'm happy to answer any questions related to that, but we'll move forward with the fiscal year proposed budget for the 43 cents that's shown on board docs.
Thank you, Mr. McLaren. Any questions, discussion?
I believe that there's a room, well, one, I believe staff did a good job, and thank you to Sam and Valerie and everyone for getting us to where we are. Two, there is room for improvement in the process. There always is. We're seeing some improvement these days. Like I noticed committee reports, we now have committee agendas. That's great. So steadily we're making progress, and hopefully we'll continue to do so relative to what we do with the budget. But we've gone through it. We've set a tax rate. Things work as they are, so I'll make a motion that we approve the budget associated with the 43-cent tax rate.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Budget is approved. The board will consider adoption of a proposed fiscal year 2026 through 2030 capital improvement plan. Mr. McLaren, once again.
Mr. Chairman, the document that you're looking at to potentially adopt here is your 5-year capital improvements program or plan for fiscal year 26 through 2030. There are a number of projects, important critical projects for the capital improvements of the county for us to move forward. It is slightly less, considering some of the larger school capital projects that we're taking on than what we normally would see as pay-as-you-go type capital projects. But the full document is posted on board docs. all the different projects of various categories. We're looking at a little close to just under $6 million for capital improvements for this coming fiscal year, other than school.
Thank you, Mr. McLaren. Is there any questions or discussion? Is there a motion?
Relative to the capital improvements plan, we have the courthouse appearing in fiscal year '28, which would be beginning in July of '27. And if we look at last year's approved plan, the courthouse wasn't in '28 or in '29. And my concern is that the revenue that would be needed to support the debt is not clearly visible relative to the upcoming tax amounts. So in order to be more conservative, especially listening to, I agree with what Supervisor Rosenberger was saying about the future and growth, I think it would be prudent to, we do need the courthouse, but to put it in fiscal year 30 rather than 28. Which would mean still July of '29, so. But it would be getting on the plan, we'd be talking about needing to do it, but we'd be trying to line it up with the timing of future revenue sources that we believe would be coming.
Mr. Chairman, I agree with that. And I think it is in line with the discussions and the plan that we've had in the last several months. So I certainly agree with Supervisor Underwood's thoughts on that.
Other questions, concerns? Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the CIP plan with the exception of the funding for the courthouse, which I believe was the, yes, so that would be, our pages aren't numbered, but under the total project requests, the 82,505, the portion of that that is for the major courthouse project to be moved to the fiscal year 30 line item, which is currently 900,000. And otherwise, we adopt as presented.
So a clarification is you are not changing the total number, you're
That's
pushing
right.
the courthouse back 1 year.
2 years,
2
from
years.
fiscal '28 to fiscal '30.
Mr. Chairman, if I could get further clarification on
please.
that from Supervisor Underwood. Are we talking about which, you said 900,000, that threw me off a little bit.
Well,
So-
that's just total buildings and grounds. So I was looking at the line item that was total projects request in CIP group. So that would have been the first landscape page. And actually, I could go through and get to the more details.
Okay.
And go to the CIP summary of building and grounds, and specifically the line item courthouse expansion /RE, that's $80 million in fiscal
Correct.
'28, moving that to fiscal '30.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Any questions on that change? Mr. Deal, did you second that? I don't believe you did.
I second that, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The motion is carried. Next, 3.04, the board will consider adoption of the fiscal year 2026 appropriation resolution. Mr. McLaren.
Mr. Chairman, this will kind of summarize and get the last piece of the documentation that the board needs to fully appropriate and approve your fiscal year '26 budget, including the capital improvement program with the slight changes that were just amended there to fiscal year '28 to '30 for the courthouse. But this is specifically for this fiscal year '26. That'd be the second resolution, which is the 43 cents that we'll be looking at based on the board actions prior to today.
Thank you, Mr. McLaren. Any questions, discussion?
Just once again, from, I guess, the county administrator's perspective, the advantages and disadvantages of doing one annual resolution versus quarterly or semi-annual would be good to know.
Mr. Chairman, to Supervisor Underwood, yeah, Supervisor Underwood has brought that up, I know, in recent years. And there are some advantages from a billing standpoint, from an administrative standpoint, to appropriating at one time for the full fiscal year. There are boards, there are localities that appropriate either semi-annually or quarterly, as you mentioned. That is an option for the county to pursue if we wanted to go in that direction. We have put some feelers out to certain departments to see what the impact would be. It could be an impact to certain contracts. We may need to look at certain contracts and redoing those. Not an insurmountable task, but it would be a task. It would be some administrative work to do up front. If that is something that the board is seriously considering, I would like to have firm direction on that moving forward so that we can prepare properly with all departments on whether to appropriate for a full year or semi-annual or quarterly. So, I know that doesn't answer your question, Mr. Supervisor Underwood, fully, but there are some challenges, and I would like to kind of clear some of those hurdles before.
It's helpful. It is helpful. We did once, I believe, appropriate more frequently and got through it. Now, that was in a true emergency situation, and I realize staff did a lot of work, but looking and preparing for the future and understanding, maybe even having committees or some subset of this board figure out the advantages and disadvantages may be worthwhile, because we have had issues where we have regretted, or I personally, I won't speak for the board, I'll speak for me, I personally have regretted annual appropriations because we had a change in constitutional officer or something else where one officer's doing half the budget and another officer's doing the other half of the budget. So I know there are advantages. I know we got to prepare for change. So if someone makes a motion for annual, I may not do my standard token objection, and I would love to work towards a process that may allow us to be better stewards of tax dollars in the future.
Other questions or comments? Mr. Underwood, my recollection is, first off, that this is a standard concern of yours, and it has been. But it seems to me either last year or the year before, we took this to a committee and had some work done on how this would work and what the changes would be. Does anyone recall that?
I believe it was rules, Mr. Chairman.
Went to rules?
I think we did too, and over a couple of years, especially, to me, it is more, I mean, if it was last year, shoot, I'd hope we revisit, but if a majority of this board doesn't want to revisit and believes that we're okay as we are, I'm one of 7 and I got to work with the other 6. So but I personally believe that it merits discussion, because I've seen hundreds of thousands, if not more dollars, problems we've had where perhaps we could change that relative to our appropriations process.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr.
if I
Bates.
could comment on that. You know, I agree with Supervisor Underwood on being a good steward of taxpayer money, being able to have it in control. But I think when we step back and we look at a 43-cent tax rate, we look at what our staff does and how lean of an operation Culpeper County runs. And to Mr. Deal's comment that, we've always been very conservative on our tax rate, but we owe that to the staff we've got. Our staff is wearing a lot of hats. And to actually go with the biannual appropriations, what we're doing is we're actually doubling up the work, increasing the load on them. So at this time, I wouldn't support, unless we have, and we can give examples of where this has been a huge problem. At this time, I'm not going to support anything other than an annual appropriation.
Mr. Underwood.
I respect very much Supervisor Bates' opinion, and I certainly don't want to double the workload of staff, and they are doing a good job with a lean staff. I believe it's possible through technology improvements to disperse more frequently than it was years ago, but it would require a lot of changes, and that's why I'm going to support if somebody makes a motion for annual this year. At some point, hopefully, we revisit it, but I very much respect where Supervisor Bates is coming from.
Thank you. Any further discussion or questions? Mr. Rosenberger?
Just to say, I understand where you're coming from, Mr. Underwood, but ultimately, and it's been mentioned here, the amount of extra work that would be put on staff in order to do what you suggested doing is I don't understand why we would do it. Certainly, when the county is in the shape it's in fiscally, we are physically healthy, and have been. And when you get in times of questionability, like when we were in the pandemic, and we discussed this during the pandemic, but I think that to put more work on staff when it's not necessary, I can't support.
Thank you. Supervisor Lee?
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion that the board adopts the fiscal year 2026 appropriation resolution.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The motion is carried. I would like to say at this time, thank you to Mr. McLaren. This is your first go-round for setting a tax rate, developing a budget. We have set the tax rate, we have an approved budget, we have an appropriations resolution. Ms. Lamb, thank you very much for working through this. Our county staff does a great job, and thank you to the board for where we are. We're set to go for the next year. And with that, we'll move on to item 3.05. The board will consider adoption of a resolution for a one-time bonus to the Department of Social Services employees that was contemplated in the county's fiscal year 2026 budget. Mr. McLaren, would you like to address this?
Mr. Chairman, this is something that has come up and will actually come up again potentially with some other areas involving constitutionals and other as well. So this is something that the state has done. It does require a match. The resolution that's attached spells that out for the board's consideration. This was anticipated by the Department of Social Services, Human Services in their budget, so that it's not a new money, consideration by the board. This was anticipated. This resolution is required, to be approved by the board to be able to move forward for that 1.5% one-time bonus, and that resolution is attached. We already have the code in place that we need that's required by the state. That was done a number of years ago, and this resolution just basically reaffirms for this year, fiscal year 26, for a one-time bonus for Department of Social Services.
Are there any questions? Discussion? Is there a motion?
I move to approve the resolution for the one-time bonus for the Department of Social Services employees.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The motion is carried. Next item on our agenda, the board will receive an update from Patrick Mauney, the Executive Director of the Rappahannock-Rapidan Regional Commission. Mr. Mauney, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the Board of Supervisors. Patrick Mauney with the Rappahannock-Rapidan Regional Commission. If you go to the next slide, or do I have, I've got the. So you see here just some background on us. In talking with the county administrator about giving a brief update to the board, I indicated that typically when I show up, it's usually when we have a plan seeking adoption, a regional plan that needs to be adopted locally, or some other specific project-related update. So I appreciate the opportunity just to give a little bit of background on the commission in general, and then some of the things we're going to be working on over the next year and into the future. You see here our 5 counties and 8 towns. Currently, Supervisor Lee and County Administrator Mr. McLaren are the board's representatives on the regional commission. Supervisors Bates, Supervisor Deal, and Supervisor Underwood have previous experience serving on our board. Certainly appreciated working with all of them, and also with the board and county administrator. You see as well, the town of Culpeper is represented. So in this case, when we do per capita dues, which is on this next page, The county is assessed at a per capita rate along with the other counties and towns of 83 cents, but that excludes the town population, as the town is a full voting member as well. So you can see here our FY 2025 budget, just a little bit over 2.7 million. That has increased substantially over the last 3 or 4 years, with largely due to some pass-through funding related to housing and a couple other grants that we've had. That local contribution at the per capita 83 cents is unchanged for the past 10 fiscal years. Don't anticipate that changing moving forward. We also receive funding annually from the county to support our role as the lead agency for Foothills Housing Network on the administrative back end for homeless services throughout the region. And that amount has also been unchanged for the past 11 fiscal years. In the current fiscal year, 92.5% of our revenues are non-local government contributions, either state or federal grants, or in some cases, nonprofit or foundation funding as well. That 10-year average is about 85%, and that includes both the per capita and the housing lead agency role. Currently, we have 10 full-time and 2 part-time staff working across a variety of programs. You can see here the core program areas. I'm not going to go through each of these in detail, but want to kind of give you a sense. A lot of times where we're working is either on a mandated plan that comes from General Assembly that is mandated at a regional level, or we're doing plans or other programs that supplement and augment work that's done at the county level on a lot of these ideas, such as economic development, farm-to-school programming, things of that nature. Transportation-wise, just a couple of highlights for what we're doing currently. Transportation planning, we often are working with counties, towns, VDOT on smart scale applications. We've done research into transportation funding options, which I know has been a discussion here at the board. We continue those opportunities, looking for opportunities to bring additional funding in, whether it's through the existing programs or if there are opportunities to advocate for different transportation funding mechanisms. We have an active transportation plan, which we're getting ready to begin an update on, and that has really been something that has, honestly, with Culpeper County, has allowed us to support some of the projects at parks and trail expansion as well. And certainly the investments that the board has made give us some things to add to this plan that have happened in the last 5 years. We also are the operator of a commuter services program. We know that there's a large out-commuting population, not just from Culpeper, but from our region. And so we do have those services available to try to reduce single occupancy vehicle, reduce some of the congestion, largely on Route 29. Also in transportation, we're the agency that oversees what's called the Regional Transportation Collaborative. That has been a mobility management program that's been in place. Previously was known as the Foothills Area Mobility System, but that started in about 2010. We've really grown that program over the last 4 or 5 years, not just with funding through federal and state government, but also the Path Foundation has made an investment that has been sustained and consistent, that has allowed us to grow our partnerships, largely with some of the organizations listed there, Aging Together, Voltran, which is a volunteer transportation program that brings in volunteers from throughout the region to provide rides. Rapid Home and Low Link are 2 villages, Low Link in Orange County, Rapid Home obviously in Rappahannock. But the key partners are the Regional Commission and Encompass Community Supports, where we have a regional mobility center that takes calls, does intakes, and connects people directly with volunteer drivers. This is just a program that I think really serves this region well. It supplements the public transportation that's largely available in and around the towns, and then with the on-demand service that's operated throughout the counties as well. But this is a key piece of that process. On the environmental and natural resources side, you can see there just some of the things we've been doing recently. We coordinate the watershed implementation plan, feedback to the state since 2019, and that's also allowed us to work directly with partners on best management practices implementation. We've got a prioritization tool, which is used largely by some of our nonprofit partners to identify where might be good locations for tree plantings or other BMP installations. And you can see here we've had implementation projects, including a National Fish and Wildlife Foundation grant that allowed us to work with the county. Appreciate Mr. Howard, especially with his work in getting permeable pavers in a bioswale project at the Carver Center, which we used a little bit more than $100,000 in that grant to come on board. And so you can see those top two pictures there are that obviously many of you have probably seen multiple times. We've also done in partnership with Parks and Recreation and the county tree planting projects, also with the Friends of the Rappahannock at Lynn Park. Community development, we're doing, currently wrapping up, hopefully, a hazard mitigation and resiliency plan. This is a federally mandated plan that is updated every 5 years. We are in the process now that plan is at VDEM and FEMA for review. We're awaiting that conditional approval from those agencies for that plan, and that allows localities and other local governments or state government to apply for funds, largely in response to disaster declarations to do hazard mitigation projects. We've also completed recently an urban heat island analysis, which again will guide some of the opportunities for tree planting or other BMP investments, and in the past have done utility scale solar analysis as well as green infrastructure mapping. On the agriculture and farm to school side, we have a brand, Purely Piedmont, which was built out of a farm and food system plan from 2015 to 2016. We have a food policy council, which kind of provides feedback and support for making some of those directions in terms of farm to school priorities. This is certainly an area where we've seen funding, threatened with changes in the federal government and the shifting funding picture there. But we continue to work with our partners really across the region. We have a position for a food system specialist that spends most of his time in local schools doing demonstrations of local food, connecting local food producers, and also working with the Carver Center, but doing demonstrations and taste tests with students as well. So you can see a little bit more information here. We do currently have a USDA Farm to School grant, which is not only supporting some of that work, but is supporting work with the Carver Food Enterprise Center to do a pilot project with Rappahannock County schools in terms of doing some of their flash freezing and other opportunities for taking local produce and putting it into schools. On economic development and tourism, you can see there's a slight change in the logo there for Purely Piedmont. So we have the food, the agriculture side for Purely Piedmont, and we also have what we call the Purely Piedmont, the kind of marketing and tourism side. And this is something where we work with the local tourism directors throughout the 5 counties and directly with organizations and member sites throughout the region. On the tourism side, we also are working with not only with Culpeper, but other counties with Virginia 250. We're coming up next year in 2026 of the 250th anniversary of 1776, and there's a lot of activity around that as well. The comprehensive economic development strategy, that's one of those areas where I mentioned it's a plan that we put in place 2023 and 2024, and it's, in my opinion, really a supplement to the work that your economic development staff does, provides other opportunities for identifying multi-jurisdictional projects, but also, again, opens up additional funding sources by virtue of having that plan in place and identifying projects that might qualify there. On housing, as I mentioned previously, we did a regional housing study in 2020. We have talked a lot about what data needs to be updated because we know there's been significant changes since that housing study was completed. But it was really the region's first real deep dive into data and other analytics as well on the housing market. Following that adoption of that study, we did receive funding along with the other 21 regional commissions in Virginia from Virginia Housing to support construction of affordable housing units. That was in 2021 where that program was announced, and over the last 4 years, we've worked with nonprofit developers to support the construction of 113 units across the 5 counties. 2 of those projects are in the town of Culpeper here, including the Lightfoot Commons apartments with People Incorporated that obviously the board was integral in the land availability there, as well as the Parkside project as well. The other projects just across the region for your interest, one is the old Ben and Mary's Steakhouse in Fauquier County was converted into 4 units of affordable housing. We supported Fauquier Habitat for Humanity in the town of Warrenton, and then in the town of Madison, Apartments on Main, which was a Skyline Community Action Partnership project, which was a previous transitional housing, which was vacant, but was turned into 6 units. So it's not just the large, low-income housing tax credit projects, it's also smaller projects that were supported with this funding. So you can see there the investments that were made in each of those projects. Obviously, for the smaller projects that I just mentioned, a much bigger bang for the buck in terms of total project cost, but I do think that the funding was important for those two projects within the town of Culpeper to go forward as well. As I mentioned, we are the lead agency for Foothills Housing Network. Really, our role there is to be the coordinator, the convener, and administer, kind of state and local communication on the homeless services system. We are not the service provider or the case manager for clients, but we do work directly with all of those partners there, and it's a challenging work. I don't hesitate to say. Currently, Foothills Housing Network, Lisa Peacock is the chair of Foothills Housing Network. Culpeper Human Services has been a valuable partner and continues to be as we communicate with them regularly. That is, honestly, I think easy for me to say, is probably the most challenging of the programs we have, just in terms of trying to cobble together funding to support the partners that are doing the case management work, but also just seeing the changing and the vulnerable population that is served through Foothills Housing Network. And I do want to underline that there's sometimes a misconception. Foothills Housing Network is not an organization. It is exactly what it says. It's a network of partner organizations working together. So a lot of times people say, Foothills isn't doing this, or Foothills could do this better. And I think it's largely because it's not that standalone organization. Just some stats here. You can see from last fiscal year in 2024, 42% of calls into Foothills Housing Network Coordinated Entry, which is a program at the commission, were from Culpeper County or the town. Typically, what you see there, that 15%, 1,595 referrals, that means we're getting 85% of calls that are not qualifying for programs. And I think that sort of demonstrates also the need that goes beyond what the funding that comes from federal and state government is meant to serve. So a couple of things on the horizon, and then I'll be quiet and take any questions from the board if you have them. Water supply planning, which you do have on your agenda today, a resolution to support our taking on the role of administrator and coordinator for the next 4 years of water supply planning. This is a mandated state plan. Previously was completed, at least in this region, at each county and town working together. The state made the decision to mandate here are regions that have to work together. In our situation, it is coincident with our 5 counties, so that works for us in terms of it makes logical sense for us to be involved, but it will be a process that works out over the next 4 years. We're currently planning with several partners for a regional housing summit, really to bring in information on what is being seen in not just the housing market, but also success stories, policies that might be contemplated by local governments, or just better ways to work across nonprofit partners and for-profit developers with local governments as well. So that's targeted for next spring. As I mentioned earlier, we're beginning update to the active transportation plan, which I think will really give us an opportunity to highlight some of the investments that have been made, not only in Culpeper, but throughout the region. And that last bullet is just something that we're always on the lookout for, is just the shifting funding landscape. And I think that goes for all of us, not just across federal and state government, but locally as well. How do we continue to make the right investments, and how do we continue to do the great work that's been done across this region, just being more creative at times with those funding opportunities. So I'm happy to take questions, and again, appreciate the time in front of you this morning.
Thank you, Mr. Money. The Regional Commission is one of those things that many people don't even know is there, so we appreciate the update, and you are very important for the things that happen here in Culpeper.
Thank you.
Questions?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to first thank Patrick and the staff for all the great things that you do for the planning district. It's kind of amazing. Now this year I'm a member of the commission, and all the areas that are touched by the commission, it's kind of unbelievable. Transportation, environment, farm to school, economic development, affordable housing, homelessness, and even tree planting in Lynn Park for Mr. Hardy and his staff. And so my biggest concern, I think, is all of the positive things that are done through the commission. There is a concern, at least for me, with regards to funding. in particular with all the changes and cutbacks at the federal level, and a lot of those grants that we get are passed through from the federal to the state, I believe, if I'm correct. So I guess I'm just a little concerned about that, and is that something that you all are, I'm certain that you're looking at that right now, and what kinds of ways are you looking at trying to mitigate any reduction in funding that you might get for the upcoming year?
Sure. I appreciate the question, Supervisor Lee. And yes, we are looking. Currently, most of the funding that we get through that's federal funding. It's about this year. It's about 40% of our budget. Probably about 85% of that 40%, if that makes sense, is passed through through the state through a state agency. So direct federal funding is a little bit less. The Farm to School grant is one of those that we do receive, but that's a one-time grant. So I think at least currently we're okay. I mean, we're certainly having those internal discussions. I think we are a little bit downstream in terms of the funding. So we're seeing, we haven't seen any of the funding cuts to the state programs. And in a lot of cases, the funds that are allocated for the upcoming fiscal year are funds that were already allocated to the state previously, and they're already working through. Now, that is for next fiscal year for FY26. Beyond that, I think we're continuing to watch just like everybody else is. The programs that we have that are reliant on federal funding, the Regional Transportation Collaborative is one that I mentioned, and we've already had mitigation conversations with partners about how do we prioritize what we're currently doing, but how do we also seek out additional funding to allow us to continue to be innovative and continue to provide the services that we are providing. So I think for now, I feel frankly comfortable for a year plus, and then we're going to continue. But this is pretty typical for us. I mean, we're constantly cycling through grants, and so we're going to be responsive to when those opportunities arise.
Thank you very much, and thank you to your staff for all of the terrific things that are being accomplished locally and in this entire planning district. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Mr.
You're not the only one, and I think there was some concern. Oh, what are we? But it was. I think it had been vacant, hadn't been at Mary's for more than 10 years. But it is really, we've got some pictures I'm happy to share. But the inside and what that looks like, and it ties the developer there also owns the units that are in behind in Fletcherville. So it was a really good opportunity, and they did a good job with that project.
Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Money.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda, the board will receive an update from the Culpeper County Library from Library Director Brian McCormick and Adult Services Librarian and Outreach Coordinator Andrew DiNicola. Guys, would you like to come forward?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Brian McCormick, Director of the Culpeper County Library. So Andrew will be giving the bigger part of the presentation here in a minute, but I just wanted to kick off and talk about some of the activities that we've done here for the past year at the library. Back in January, we unveiled our new logo. So the older one is probably from the 90s, and we just felt it needed to be refreshed, represent the community and the work we do at the library. So we did that. That also coincided with our new website, which also needed to be updated. It's cleaner, fresher, it's easier to find information with that. And our event calendar was also done, and it does a much better job, I think, of showing the information and the programs and activities we've got. Plus, it allows patrons to register for study rooms, the community room, the conference room. They can do all that online. So that's all been taken care of. Currently, we're going through the process of updating our automation system. So that's cataloging, circulation, acquisitions, the online catalog, and that will be completed at the end of June. The shade sale project, it's been progressing. Hopefully that'll be completed here in the next couple of months, and that's in the back part of the library where the patio is, and the sun is just a real killer back there during the summer. So this will be helpful in blocking the sun a little bit and making that space much more usable for library programs and events. So currently, right now, the Friends Bookstore is at the back part of the library. It's kind of hidden. And we have a space up at front of the library, which used to be the computer lab. So we're going to be moving the Friends Bookstore up to the front of the library, give them a little bit more exposure. Plus, we're going to move the giving tree. So that's the tree that the Friends have that shows some of the major donations they've got. That's kind of hidden in the community room. So we'll bring that out front by their new bookstore. And basically that, kind of front area of the library will be kind of focused on the Friends. I'll give them a nice space, and the bookstore will be there. That frees up the space in the back, and Andrew's been working with some organizations on creating a STEM lab or a maker lab back there. So I think that'll be a nice addition to the library and provide some additional services as well. Next week, I'll be back here to visit with the building committee to highlight some of the teen and youth services parts of the library that we want to update and renovate. And the Library Foundation is being very helpful in making that project come to fruition. And at the end of the month, we kick off our summer reading program. Color Our World is the theme this year. It's a multicultural theme. And the staff already have plenty of events, activities, programs planned for the next several months. It'll be very busy again this summer. So, and I just want to mention that this all wouldn't be possible without the great team that we got at the library. The staff are excellent to work with. We have each other's backs. We have a lot of fun. They bring new ideas forward. It's just a great culture. And with that, I would like to introduce Andrew DiNicola, who I like to call the architect, the creator, and the composer of our Culpeper Con event, which has completed its third go-around. So with that, Adult and Outreach Coordinator, Andrew. Thanks, Brian. It's all you.
Good morning, everybody. How's everybody doing today? So, Mr. Chair, members of the Board of Supervisors, county staff, thank you for the opportunity to be here today. I've had the great pleasure for the past 3 years of being able to develop a fantastic program, and it really would not be possible without the fantastic staff that we have at Culpeper County Library. As Director McCormick said, our staff is fantastic, and it's really nice to be able to see the culture of change that has happened in the past few years. When I say that staff has been literally dancing in the aisle, to be able to say that feeling, that breath of fresh air has been going through the library, I mean that quite literally. There have been times where staff has literally danced through the aisle because they're just happy. They're happy to be responsive. And I think that the Culpeper Con program that we've been able to introduce has been a great reflection of all of those things. But for those of you who have not had the pleasure, my name is Andrew DiNicola, and I serve as the Adult Services Librarian at the library. And I'd like to certainly talk about the third year of Culpeper Con. Supervisor Deal can remember, I'm sure, when we introduced the program back in the fall of 2022. There was certainly some questions, comments, concerns that the Library Board of Supervisors had in relation to the program. And I'm happy to say that we've actually used all of those challenges as a form of strength. And to be able to make the Culpeper Con comic book convention completely and utterly unique to Culpeper. Cool. So what is Culpeper Con? It is a free and open program, family-focused, and styled event that is using mostly Culpeper-based or Culpeper County-based local nonprofit organizations and local for-profit businesses. We're celebrating graphic novels, science fiction, fantasy. It's welcoming fans of all ages, all styles, all levels of nerddom. We're promoting the library values, which come right from our very own mission statement, which is literacy, access, and inclusion. And what started as the program in the fall of 2022 in partnership with then local for-profit business, Multiverse Comics and Games, has grown very, very quickly, very rapidly, with, of course, our fantastic staff and community support. So why does this all matter? Well, one is that, again, it aligns with the library's mission of lifelong learning and community connection. We're attracting a multi-generational audience right to the library, right to our physical doorstep, and using the library itself as the main attraction, as the way to be able to market the whole program. And we're boosting the library's visibility and really reinforcing that healthy community lifestyle and healthy community cycle, where we're supporting and where support and services strengthen the community, fueling business growth, increasing those tax revenue dollars, and allowing for that reinvestment into public resources like the Culpeper County Library. So we mentioned a couple of those challenges, and what were they? Well, number one is that no selling was going to be allowed on the county property. Initially as a hurdle, we now see that as a strength, and without the pressure to sell, participating organizations are able to give the thing that the library needs most, and that is a focus on literacy, engagement, and communication. So the local nonprofit and for-profit businesses, to coin a phrase, they are becoming their own local superheroes by their own right. Second thing is that the Friends of the Library can still be able to fundraise, as they are our host supreme for this whole program, by selling locally sourced Culpeper purchased based items such as t-shirts and buttons. Number two, we have to be able to minimize costs, where we need to reuse materials over and over again. For example, backdrops or movie licenses that have to be able to serve multiple programs. So the whole adage of measure twice, cut once really comes into play. And number three, the space itself. The library building is public, however, the parking lot is not. It is owned by Marshall Gayhard. And within that, we have to be able to be within the physical space and confines of itself. We only have the capacity, per code, to be able to host only 419 people in the building at one time. So we have to be able to manage the flow carefully. We have to be able to make sure that the library remains open and fully functional throughout the entire time. So some of the things that we've been able to actually showcase, and you can see some of the pictures that we have above in the slides, is that we have some guest speakers who have come from the Library of Congress. So just right down the road over at Mount Pony at the Packard campus. We have local vendors such as Final Boss, Collector's Den, and so many more. We've been covered by local media such as the Culpeper Star Exponent, Culpeper Times, WJMA with their Local People, Real Issues, and of course our wonderful local programming network, Culpeper Media Network. One of the nice things that we have going for us, and it's kind of shown in that from the Culpeper Con 2024 picture, is that we have this wonderful thing about we're all walking together. And to me, what that's meaning is that during that first Culpeper Con program, we had a couple of people who showed up late, and they were literally crying inside the bathroom because they were not able to participate in the program. Well, the library, as being that center of being able to shift the way that we do things and being able to monitor ourselves, we were able to actually change that again into a strength, where everybody at that point in time was able to walk together, walk as one community of growth. And that was an absolutely fantastic transitional change that we had just in our very first edition. Wasn't planned, but has now become our iconic program throughout the cosplay event on Friday nights. And of course, if you walked down Main Street at any point in time the past 2 years, you hopefully saw the banner stretching right across the road. So there is an error on the slides, in the next couple of slides. It is showing actually 2023 results. It actually should be 24. And another subsequent slide, it should actually say 2025. But this actually is showing some of the data from 2024, where we counted 1,104 attendees using a lanyard system. And one of the nice things that we were able to do is partner with the town of Culpeper, and they have a program called Placer AI, which uses cell phone data and placement data to be able to capture the people and where their cell phones are actually located. Now, while their system said 1,600, our system said 1,104. It was a fantastic bit of data that we're able to capture and be able to see people that are coming from not just Culpeper County, which is what you see in the second picture, but they're coming from regions all over Culpeper. And hopefully this is boosting our Culpeper County tourism and local businesses. Here's where the data gets really exciting for us for this year. So this past year, we had measured 1,364 people at Culpeper County Library over the course of just 10 hours. We had 1,700 people measured according to the Placer AI data, which in comparison, Walmart only had 330. So just let that sink in. We had more people at the library than actually making purchases. To me, that's awesome. But that really goes to show that, that one, we have a great partnership with the town to be able to showcase this data. But again, it really goes to show that it is an important program to say that we had 1,300 people showing up to the library. We also had 15 new library card signups, which of course shows a really good long-term win. So over the past 3 years, we've had a growth, a substantial exponential growth, where in 2025, we did see a 24% jump in year over year. So this is just images and some names of organizations, nonprofits that are just Culpeper alone. So we're trying, again, to be able to use Culpeper-based businesses and nonprofit organizations to be able to really showcase all the strengths and weaknesses that we have to offer in the county. And these are all new partnerships that we would never have been able to make possible. Looking ahead, as Mr. McCormick said, we have that makerspace idea in planning, and hopefully that will be powered by local professionals to be able to ensure sustainability over the upcoming successes and years. So what are our goals for next year? Well, number one, CulpeperCon 4th edition is going to be hosted on the 27th and 28th of 2026, which again is going to continue that 4th Saturday of the month, because that just seems to be where the all the other conventions in the state and surrounding states seem to have nothing going on. But it's a great point in time to be able to get that call to action to get people to come to Culpeper. One of the things that we actually do plan on doing, again, and continuing this process, because I do feel like that cycle of a healthy community does happen, is we do have a program called ESA, or Extraordinary Superhuman Activities. Sounds way more important than it is, and that's just because we're trying to encourage local businesses and trying to encourage them, of both for-profit and nonprofit businesses, to be able to have things like scavenger hunts or superhero sandwich deals and promotions that will help promote those tax dollars and tax revenues that will help be able to make sure that they are sustainable and make sure that as a whole community and county we are healthy. These aren't necessarily about fundraising. These are only, partial sale differences. It's really just to get that marketing out, but there's a tiny cost component to it, but you're talking $25. Not exactly a big expenditure for these businesses, but we're hoping that by having that buy-in, it really continues on. We're continuing to be able to cut costs. This past year, we actually broke even. We were $200 over budget. I consider that breaking even. We're going to be able to, using a new pre-numbered system, to be able to get more accurate counts of people using wristbands. We're going to continue to repurpose items such as our old banners and styles, and being able to really put our advertising dollars out there for maximum impact. The library space, it's never going to change. We can change the inside and change arrangements around, but the library itself is acting as its own bit of advertisement, and we don't want to do that. But we can organize and reorganize those spaces to really reflect some of the different areas, and being able to use off-site locations as like little satellite locations. But we are continuing to continue that collaboration between for-profit, nonprofit organizations. We certainly want to be able to increase our footprint within, say, the Chamber of Commerce, or work with the Culpeper County Economic Development offices. So, what's my call to action here today? So number one is that I do want to ask the board to continue supporting the library's mission and consider Culpeper Con as a model for low-cost, high-impact public engagement. Now, one more thing. I'm going to call on the Library Board of Supervisors to make their own comic book character. So at some point in time, we are going to develop the Culpeper Con superhero with the County Board of Supervisors that will reflect the needs and desires that you all have as a county. Here's the catch. It's going to be placed on the 2026 poster. So you are going to develop the superhero that is going to be placed alongside Captain Culpeper. So these are just 4 of the characters that we've created so far, one with Aging Together. They created the Supreme Sage. Empatia the Advocate was created by Safe. The NAACP of Culpeper created the Equitizer. And the evil villain of Culpeper Con, the one that we absolutely despise in the public library sectors, and that is Censor. And you have to say it like that. If not, it doesn't have the same effect. But that was actually created by the Rotary Club of Culpeper. So I open it up for questions.
Thank you, Andrew. Are there any questions?
I don't have a question, but I have a comment. We frequent the library, love the youth staff and all of the programs that you guys do. It's amazing when a 4-year-old says, "Can I go to the library?" instead of can I go to the playground? So I just want to say kudos to you guys. I've talked with some of the people that work there, and the upgrades that you guys are planning on doing are going to be phenomenal, with possibly in a few years having self-checkout and different things like that. So I applaud all the work and all the things that you guys are trying to do to update the library and bring people into it. It's wonderful. Thank you.
Well, thank you for attending any of our programs, Supervisor Gugino. The youth services staff is absolutely fantastic. And as I said before, the Culpeper Con program and any of the programs that we do would not be possible without the great leadership, but also the staff who truly leads us in the way that we should be operating.
Any other questions?
Mr. Chairman, just like to piggyback on what Supervisor Gugino said, and thank you also, Andrew, for the terrific work. I think Culpeper Con is a huge success, especially if it's becoming a regional attraction as well, getting people coming in from other counties and other areas. And we look forward to the superhero creation. I think it'll be a lot of fun.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I will add to that. I did not make Culpeper Con this year, but I attended a year ago. I volunteered a little bit. The number of people that attended that event was amazing to me. Families together coming to the library, children, their parents, just a great mix of people coming out and using the library. And that's not something that you hear about or see all the time. So kudos, you did a great job. We appreciate it. Any other questions?
Well, I will close on just one quick thing. For those of you who are Star Wars fans, this is the May.
Thank you. Our Next item of business, the board will consider approval of a proclamation establishing May 2025 as Older American Months. Mr. McLaren.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will just read into the record the proclamation that is posted for this. This is on behalf of the Board of Supervisors. Whereas Culpeper County includes a growing number of older Americans who contribute their strength, wisdom, and experience to our community. And whereas communities benefit when people of all ages, abilities, and backgrounds are welcomed, included, and supported. And whereas Culpeper County recognizes our need to create a community that provides the services and support older Americans need to thrive and live independently for as long and as possible. And whereas Culpeper County can work to build an even better community for our older residents by encouraging individuals and communities to challenge stereotypes and dispel misconceptions. Now therefore, Culpeper County Board of Supervisors do hereby proclaim May 2025 to be Older Americans a Month and support this year's theme, Flip the Script on Aging, focusing on transforming how society perceives, talks about, and approaches aging. This year, join us in honoring older adults' contributions, exploring the many opportunities for staying active and engaged as we age, and highlighting the opportunities for purpose, exploration, and connection that come with aging.
Thank you, Mr. McLaren. Any discussion or a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that the board approves the proclamation establishing May 2025 as Older Americans Month.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The motion has passed. Our next item of business is the board will consider approval of a proclamation recognizing the week of May 4th through 10, 2025 as Municipal Clerks Week. And before we move on that, I'd like to sort of take a side here. Our deputy clerk, Ms. Ellis, has recently been elected as the president of the Virginia Municipal Clerks Association. That is a great honor for her. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for being involved in that organization. And Mr. McLaren, would you read this into the record?
Sure, Mr. Chairman. The proclamation for Municipal Clerks Week, which is this week, May 4th through the 10th. Whereas the office of the municipal clerk, a time-honored and vital part of our local government, exists throughout the world, and whereas the office of the municipal clerk is the oldest among public servants, maybe not our particular clerk, but the clerk position, and whereas the office of the municipal clerk provides the professional link between the citizens, the local governing bodies, and agencies of government at all other levels, and whereas the municipal clerks have pledged to be ever mindful of their neutrality and impartiality, rendering equal service to all, and whereas the municipal clerk serves as the information center on functions of local government and community, and whereas the municipal clerks continually strive to improve the administration of the affairs of the office of the municipal clerk through participation in education programs, seminars, workshops, and the annual meetings of their state, provincial, county, and international professional organizations. And whereas it is most appropriate that we recognize the accomplishments of the office of the municipal clerk. Now therefore, we, Culpeper County Board of Supervisors, do recognize the week of May 4th through the 10th, 2025 as Municipal Clerks Week, and further extend our appreciation to Municipal Clerk Kim Ellis, to all municipal clerks for their vital service that they perform and exemplary dedication to their communities they represent. Adopted this 6th day of May 2025.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Motion?
I move that we approve the proclamation recognizing the week of May 4th through 10, 2025 as Municipal Clerks Week.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The motion is carried. The next item on the agenda, the board will consider approval of a resolution recognizing the week of May 4 through 10, 2025 as Public Service Recognition Week in Culpeper County. Mr. McLaren.
Mr. Chairman, the County of Culpeper has 341 full-time, 361 part-time employees, including constitutional officers and staff that serve in various capacities and departments. An additional 279 folks that serve the Department of Human Services. These numbers do not include all the numerous unpaid volunteers that contribute to making Culpeper a great community as well. And I appreciate the board entertaining this year. This week, not only is Municipal Clerks Week, but is also Public Service Recognition Week, May 4th to May 10th. Mr. Chairman, if I could, I'd like to read that proclamation.
Please.
Proclamation for Public Service Recognition Week in Culpeper County. Whereas the public service is essential to the well-being of our communities, and the employees of Culpeper County play a vital role in ensuring the safety, health, and prosperity of our citizens. And whereas the week is designated as Public Service Recognition Week to honor the dedication and hard work of public servants, including those in Culpeper County, who serve with professionalism, integrity, and compassion. And whereas the employees of Culpeper County contribute to the success of our community through their commitment to excellent service, whether in government administration, public safety, community services, or infrastructure maintenance. And whereas it is important for our citizens to acknowledge the invaluable contributions of these individuals who help our county thrive and improve the quality of life for all. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the Culpeper County Board of Supervisors proclaim May 4th through the 10th as Public Service Recognition Week and encourages all citizens to honor the dedicated public servants who enhance our community. Be it further proclaimed that the Board of Supervisors, Culpeper County Board of Supervisors, commend Culpeper County employees for their service and urges all residents to express their gratitude for the employees' unwavering commitment to the community.
Thank you, Mr. McLaren. Any questions, comments? Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that the board approves the resolution recognizing the week of May 4th to May 10th, 2025 as Public Service Recognition Week in Culpeper County.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? The motion is carried. I would like to thank, we have a fairly large group of employees here today, and I'd like to thank you all for coming today to the meeting. And to our employees in general. Our county operates extremely well, and it is because of the employees that we have doing their jobs every day. Thank you very much for what you do. It's important to everyone. Mr. McLaren, do you have some other things you'd like to
Mr. Chairman,
add?
if I could, I'm going to get them to wait a little bit longer. We do have some awards that we have. Basically, this is brand new for Culpeper County. I'm excited to do this with Human Resources, but I have that under the administrator's report. And I know they're dependable and faithful, and they're going to participate with us through the rest of our business here. And hang on, and hang on just for a few more minutes, and I think we can get through that and we can save that. So.
Okay, you guys stick around. You have probably picked one of the longer meetings of the year to attend. We're going to now move on from general county business to old business. The board will receive an update on the acquisition of the Coffeewood Correctional Facility and discuss how to move forward. Mr. McLaren.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The county has been working, as you all know, for some time with the state to potentially acquire and or lease the Coffeewood Correctional Facility for use as a local jail in partnership with Page County over the past few years. Most recently, this year, there was a budget amendment at the state proposed by Delegate Webert that was required, and there was special language in the budget that would basically open that facility up for a lease arrangement for Culpeper County. Wasn't necessarily exactly the language we were expecting, but it was in there. It was proposed. Unfortunately, that budget amendment did fail this year. Mr. Chairman, at this time, we're not sure how that'll move forward, but it's not moving forward at the moment for this year. And I just wanted to update the board on that. Also posted as a letter. We've been trying, for some time. The board has been trying to make that a possibility for the county. Is an updated letter to Senator Reeves, who was supportive of this effort this year as well, and some other legislators as well. But the budget amendment itself was posted as well. But is unfortunately a dead issue for this year.
Thank you. Is there any questions or discussion about this topic? Mr. Underwood.
If at first you don't succeed, try and try again. We're going to have to keep trying. So there's going to be a change in administration. There's going to be changes in the House of Delegates, not very few in State Senate. They're not up for election. And we'll hopefully get greater reception next year. I mean, I very much appreciate the efforts that Supervisors Deal and Bates, who have kind of led this over the years, have done. And if they'll continue, please continue.
Other questions or comments? Supervisor Bates?
Mr. Chairman, I don't disagree with Supervisor Underwood, but I do think that, just like with the courthouse, that the needs of the county when it comes to the jail and court services, each year it's more and more demanding on our budget. And I think it would be prudent for the county at this point not to put all our eggs in one basket, that we really need to start looking at all the options, which in my opinion would be moving forward with approach to joining a regional jail, getting I think the cost on what it would be to build a local jail. And if we could get more detail, should we acquire Coffeewood or be able to acquire Coffeewood, what the cost would be associated with the renovations to take it from a state prison to a local jail. And I'm just concerned that it seems, as years go by, the needs get more and more, and what we're spending in outside jail services right now, the debt service on, either a regional approach or a local jail, it doesn't seem, that far off. So I think that's something we really need to look at, entertain all three options is what I'm getting at.
Any other? Supervisor Lee?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, I agree with Supervisor Bates. I think we need to move this discussion back to the Buildings and Grounds Committee to look at all three options, certainly keeping the option open for Coffeewood, but also moving forward with other concrete plans for possibly a new jail, here or joining a regional jail facility. But I think we have to move forward and look at all three options now.
Supervisor Deal?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. For me, I can see two options. Hopefully the Coffeewood situation will iron out, and I'm still going to lobby hard for it. I'm not sure what happened and what wrench or what the challenges and hurdles were that came at the last second to prevent us from getting the deed. We were days away from transitioning Coffeewood to the county. The governor promised me personally that we would get Coffeewood. I talked with him when he was here for Bingham and Taylor. It was on his desk. He had to sign it. Something at the last second came up, and I'm not sure what that is. So, as Mr. McLaren said, it became a budget amendment situation, therefore opening it up to votes and bipartisanship as far as between the delegates and legislature. We thought it was going to pass. It did not. So, as Supervisor Underwood stated earlier, I mean, the governorship is going to change. I know we have support from both sides, so I think we need to go full steam ahead to try to procure that facility. It's important. It's important for the region. It's important for Culpeper. It's important for Page County. If we can achieve that goal to get that facility, and we have to spend $10 million to $20 million, hopefully not that much, to bring it up to standard to what the jail criteria is for a regional jail. It would save us possibly $7,500 million in building a new jail. And we have a lot of big projects that are coming up now with millions of dollars at stake. And I don't want to see another $100 million project come up for Culpeper County unless it's way down the road and we have technology money with data center complexes coming in that's $100 million or whatever it is. It's lucrative and we can afford to build a jail. But, so I'm all for right now, presently, with trying to procure the Coffeewood facility or entering into an agreement with a regional jail. But as far as a new jail, I can't support that right now. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Other comments? Mr. Underwood.
Mr. Chairman, I agree with Supervisor Deal, and what that means is, yes, one, we look at what we can do relative to Coffeewood in all ways possible. Two, looking at regional alternatives, because those are not something that just come up every day. There are going to be periods where they're available and periods where they're not. Now, with that, we have a sheriff that works very well with regional jails and has done so in a cost-saving manner for us over the last couple of years. I think it may make sense to have public safety be the ones that look at the regional jail opportunities, because it includes several aspects, and it's going to be opportunistic. So if there is a good opportunity, great. If there's not, we can be patient. Relative to a large capital asset, we just approved a CIP plan with about $300 million. I mean, literally earlier in this meeting. I don't want to add any more in the next 5 years. So if it's more than 5 years out, the environment relative to inflation is so uncertain that I don't know that it makes sense to look at whether the jail would be 50 million or 100, whether there's 25% cost share or not. In other words, I have no appetite to consider something that's more than 5 years from now relative to a new build.
Mr. Bates?
Mr. Chairman, I don't want to get too far into the weeds with this at this particular time. And as Supervisor Lee has said, that maybe we take this back to the building and grounds. And I agree with Supervisor Underwood if public safety would be the starting point for the regional approach. But to Mr. Deal's point, I don't want to solely focus on just Coffeewood, because the numbers that he's quoting or speculating, the 10 to 20 or $30 million, from what I'm being told, is nowhere close to what it's going to take for that renovation. So my point being, I think that we would be wise to get all of the numbers for all three options. And do keep in mind that there is a program, and from what I'm being told is still available through the state, that there's a 25% help or credit that you can get from the state when you talk about building a courthouse or jail or associated parking. So I think these numbers, putting these numbers together and calculating that type of help from the state, along with Coffeewood and the regional approach, I think it's wise for the board to have all three sets of numbers in front of them, and let's make a decision based off of the numbers. And Supervisor Underwood, to your point, 5 years from now, what it costs to build one, and we're not in a position right now that we can build this anytime soon, and I agree, the technology money is going to be paramount when it comes to, taking care of these capital projects. But I think at this time that, we really need to start focusing on getting all the numbers together. So that was my point.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Deal.
Yes. As far as the cost for Coffeewood, correct me if I'm wrong, we have not had a third-party estimator go in there that's associated with the jails or with Department of Corrections or anybody that is affiliated with regional jails, and the criteria that's needed there and the cost from a contractor to give us any official estimate. So anything that, to me, we go down there and look at that facility, and we walk through there. I didn't see much difference than when we walked the Prince William and toured that facility and Coffeewood. So when I hear that it's going to be over 10, 15, 20 million dollars, I don't understand that, because we haven't had any third-party estimates, quotes, or anything. All I hear is hearsay that it's going to be more than that. And to me, that's not good enough. If you got a facility down there that's got 500 beds in it, it's been there vacant for 10 years, but the structure, the inside, to me, looks like it's in very good shape, other than the HVAC, bringing it up as far as what the criteria is for jails, with different specifics that I don't want to go into right now, but I still feel like we can work it out. And I'm also for the regional jail approach too, just not, as Supervisor Underwood said, not anytime soon to fork out $100 million for a new jail until we can really afford that.
Other comments? Mr. Underwood.
In terms of having the figures relative to a capital improvement project, if we had plans to do that project within 5 years, it would make sense to look at it, in my opinion. That's one of the reasons this board does 5-year capital improvement plans. If it's beyond 5 years and not in the CIP, unless we're planning on adding it to the CIP, which I think if we were, the time to do that would have been just before we passed the CIP. I don't know that it makes sense right now to look at it. And relative to costs, I remember very clearly when we were debating this at length on the campaign trail in 2007. And I believe it was a little north of $40 million then when some work had been done. Now, I'm pretty sure it's more than that now. I don't know what the figure is, but anything from 2007 is more now. And I'm not going to support that capital expenditure in the next 5 years. If we're going to send it and start getting work done, I think we need a majority of this board that's willing to support that capital expenditure in some reasonable time frame. Otherwise, we're asking committees to spin their wheels.
Since I have come on this board, which was a little over 3.5 years ago, the Coffeewood debate has been a hot topic. And it has been a facility that was going to be given to the county. It was going to be leased to the county. We always seem to get within a day of the title being turned over to the county. And something always comes up. The state never comes through with this. We have spent a great deal of time talking about and estimating what it's going to cost to renovate Coffeewood. I don't believe there is a person on this dais that has the ability to come up with what that number is. That is not our forte. We do have an issue in our county with the jail facility. And it would seem to me that looking at alternatives is never a bad idea, and looking at alternatives that are backed up by researched numbers that mean something is a good idea. My thought is that we need to find out what it would cost to renovate Coffeewood. And I believe the state will allow us access to Coffeewood to go in and have that done. And we can have a solid number to understand. If it is $5 million, it's $5 million. If it's $100 million, that's a different number. But we need to know what that number is with some certainty, and we don't know that now. We can't have a good discussion until we do. A regional jail, I think, is an excellent idea. We need to understand what it might cost to become part of a regional jail and what the long-term commitments are to that type of an arrangement. I do not want to see us add a new jail to to our capital plan. But I'll tell you what I really don't want to see. I don't want to see us get to a point where we need to build a new jail that we haven't looked at, that we haven't planned for, and we really don't know the answers about it. I think the cost to look at what it would be to build that jail probably comes into play here, because these are the three choices we have. And to make this choice, we have got to know the numbers involved with each one of it, each part of it. So what I'm going to propose, and I'm not sure the chairman is supposed to make a motion, but I'm going to propose this. Maybe somebody else will make this motion. I believe, and I have asked earlier, to have a group of 2 supervisors work with the sheriff and representatives from the sheriff's office to study these proposals that I've just put forward, to put together some solid numbers that go with them, not to come back with, we feel, we think it could be. We need to have some numbers that are ferreted out and have some good research behind them, and have that group go to work. I don't think that is asking the committee to spin its wheels. I think it's important information that we need. Mr. Bates.
Mr. Chairman, the group that you talked about working with the jail committee, I'd sat in with Sheriff Chilton and last month, and we had discussed having Mosley Architects give us a proposal of what it would take to do an evaluation. Can they put together a number of what it would cost to see what the cost would be needed to renovate Coffeewood? Tom, to your point, as a placeholder in the next 5 years, we need to have some sort of a, which way are we going to go? Are we going to have a placeholder to join a regional jail? Are we going to have a placeholder to, we had $6 million for Coffeewood from the state's estimate of what it was going to take to renovate it with the new roof, HVAC, water, the boilers. I think what's being discussed now, the speculations, to Mr. Deal's point, are outside of the maintenance portion of Coffeewood, what it would take to take it from a layout for a prison to a local jail. So my point being, I'm kind of waiting, hopefully the sheriff can come up with the numbers from Mosley. I don't know if he's reached out to him or not, of what it would take, what costs would be incurred by the county to do this study on what it would take to meet DOC regulations.
The challenge I have is I'm not going to buy the study. If a majority want to do it and vote for it, they can. I don't buy that process or that study. So as I many years ago said, I'm not going to vote for the capital for the new jail. I only get to vote if I'm around to do it the next 3 years or so. So the years after that, who knows, but you'll know where I'm going to vote in the next few.
Mr. Chairman, I agree. I mean, like I said earlier, I'm all for a new jail if we can afford a new jail. And 5-10 years from now, we may be able to afford a new jail with no problem at all. If things go with technology like we think it's going to go. But I'm all for looking at the regional approach and Coffeewood. But as far as wasting time meeting and studying a new jail, I'm not there yet either. And it's, for me, it's not a waste of time, but I just, I don't think it's prudent at this time based on the cost that we're looking at going forward and the big ticket items that we already have in the queue and the burden on the taxpayers until we get the ability to have technology money coming in and knowing where we are.
I will once again say that I do not want to spend taxpayer money on capital projects that we don't need. I do believe that before we can make a decision as to whether we renovate a Coffeewood or join a regional jail, the third alternative is whether we build our own jail. And I find it hard to believe that there are people that don't want to look at that information. I don't believe it's going to cost us more money to determine what a new jail would cost than it will to determine what it costs to renovate Coffeewood. In fact, I think it may be cheaper to figure out what it would cost to build a jail than what it would cost to renovate Coffeewood, and probably be more accurate.
If you want to figure out in nonpartisan information, do you hire the architect and the sheriff to figure out which way to go?
I didn't say who we hire. I just said we get this information. And yes, I do believe the sheriff should be part of this discussion. Mr. Bates.
Mr. Chairman, once again, and not to belabor the point, pick the engineering firm. The only reason I used the firm that we used to do the courthouse evaluation, okay? That's who the county generally goes with on the big projects like that. And I'm not saying that I'm speaking on the behalf of the whole board on whether we're going to pay for this study, but I'd like to have some idea of what this study would cost. Because some of these studies, I'm knocked out of the chair when I get the bill on what they're doing. So I don't want to speculate on what it's going to take to renovate Coffeewood. I don't want to speculate on any of the three options. All I'm saying is let's have some numbers out in front of us so we can make an educated decision. Do we want to spend X amount of dollars to have the study done on Coffeewood on what it's going to take to renovate it or not? And to get some idea of what that study is going to cost would be well served, I think, for the board to make that decision.
Other discussion? Is there a
Mr.
motion?
Mr. Chairman,
Rosenberg.
I'd just like to say that I concur with what you've said here. If we as a board don't look at all the options, then we're derelict in our duty here. I mean, we're going to have to look and see what it's going to cost to do these things, but if you don't explore all the options, we're not doing due diligence for the taxpayer. So I think that if we don't move in that direction, we've made a mistake. We've got to look at all of it.
Mr. Chairman, I agree. I think there's no harm in having knowledge. Knowledge is power, and it allows us to make the best educated decisions instead of speculating what things cost in each direction. And yes, if it doesn't happen in the next 5 years, we know that, well, guess what? It's not going to be cheaper than what we found out today, which is better than knowing what it was going to cost in 2007, because that's a big spread. So I think the most up-to-date information would be helpful for both the public safety and the buildings and grounds so that we can make the best decision for the citizens of our county.
Other comments?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that the board forms a committee of 2 supervisors to work with the sheriff to explore all 3 options regarding our current situation with regards to the jail, a local jail, Coffeewood, or join in a regional jail facility.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion?
Yes, how are we going to figure out who the 2 supervisors are?
We're going to fight over it? I'm not interested.
No, but that's a reasonable question for that motion, isn't it? I mean,
If allowed, I will amend the motion that will include our previous representatives in this quest, Supervisors Bate and Deal, to be on that committee.
Mr. Chairman,
Is there a second to that amended motion?
Second.
Mr. Deal.
Mr. Chairman, it may be appropriate for someone else other than me, like I said, because I'm all for gathering information, but if we study building a new jail and coming up with costs, and we're not, it's not going to be the cost associated with something that we build 5 to 10 years down the road. It's going to be immediate costs. So costs may change or will change in 5 to 10 years if we're going to build a facility then. So I'm not in favor of building a facility until, like I said, until we can afford it. I'm all for studying Coffeewood to see what that costs. And as far as the regional jail approach, I'm all for that. But I just can't support, unless it's maybe even 7 to 10 years out, to where we can afford a new jail, be a part of that right now, because I think it needs to be closer, like Mr. Underwood was saying, around the 229, 230 time frame of where we would look at that and do a study and generate the costs then for a facility like that versus in 2025.
Thank you, Mr. Deal. I believe it's the chairman's job to appoint committees. So without objection, or if you would like to amend your motion to give me authority to do that, I will appoint 2 members to that committee.
Mr. Chairman, I'll be happy to amend the motion that states that you will appoint the committee members to the previously stated motion.
Okay, we've got a second amendment here. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Further discussion?
We talk about, Mr. Chairman, we talk about how much it costs today and the 5 to 7 years from now. I think we might want to think about if something were to happen at this jail, the way things are going, it could cost us a whole lot more not to do the jail than it could to do it. And I'm not saying we do it today, but I think the 5 years down the road, 5 years is going to be gone by before you know it. And getting everything in order, I think, is prudent. But I think we might want to look at be cheaper to do it than not to do it.
Further comments, questions?
So just for clarity, the motion is for all 3, correct?
The motion, as I understand it, is to look at the renovation and define what the renovations of Coffeewood would be,
Right?
what it would be cost, and what arrangements would have to be made to be part of a regional jail,
Right.
and what it would cost to build a jail of our own.
Immediate costs, not costs associated with 2033 compared to now, right?
I believe it would be for immediate costs. I don't know that we can project out that far, and for comparison's sake, we're talking about today. So,
Okay.
yes. Other, Mr. Bates?
Mr. Chairman, just to be clear, to Mr. Deal's point, the study that we had done on the courthouse was projected to 2030. So I would say that there could be an escalator put in there. And I'm not saying have a complete blown set of drawings, but, you know, Henry County had just built a jail here 2 years ago, which was $65 million, if I'm correct on that number. But get some sort of projection what it's going to be looking like in 2031, or whenever, so.
If the projection goes out to 2033, then I will support it, but I can't support it otherwise.
Any further questions? Discussion? Call the question. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Passed 5-2, Ms. Ellis. Okay, moving on to, see where I am here. Okay, new business. The board will consider adopting a resolution that allows the Rappahannock-Rapidan Regional Commission to submit an application to the DEQ for funding on behalf of Culpeper County to support initial activities related to the water supply planning regulations. Mr. Howard, would you like to talk to us about this?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, localities are required by the state to implement water supply plans, and we've been doing this since the late 90s after recent droughts in 99, 2002. Those have come up for updates, and the state passed a couple of changes to the code. One of them is to require setting up new planning units, and they mirror right now the planning district commissions. And they've set aside some grant money for the grants for the regional commissions to assist with that process. This would allow them to go ahead and apply for those state funds. The code requires us to update the water supply plan by October of 2029.
Mr. Underwood.
I had this discussion when I was formerly a member of the Regional Planning Commission, and as I stated then, I mean, the funds are there, we're required to do it, so I'm going to support it, but it makes no sense to me. Meaning, and I'm serious, like the water in Madison and the water in Orange and the town system in Clevenger's, to have a regional plan. I mean, even when you look at just the watersheds and then the aquifers below them, Culpeper itself is so different from the Triassic Basin versus the other side. Maybe I'm missing something. I'm supporting the motion, but It's really tough for me to understand how figuring out Madison's water supply with ours. I know the land in between, I don't think there's going to be a plan for a water pipe, forget 2033 through 2083.
Other questions or discussion?
Make a motion that we do this.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Yeah, to adopt the
To, yes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Next item of business, the board will consider adopting a resolution that authorizes the Culpeper County School Board to apply for a literary fund loan to the Virginia Board of Education for the purpose of borrowing up to $25 million for the construction of the new elementary school number 7. Mr. McLaren, would you introduce this?
Mr. Chairman, as the board knows, we've been working on a funding program for 2 major school projects, one that's currently underway at Culpeper Middle School, and then one that's going to be shortly underway with the new, breaking in the new elementary school across from Eastern View off of Greens Corner Road. Part of the funding strategy, the board has recently gone to the market for bonds. Those were successful. Those were issued. They're in play now. That money is going to be used and is actively being used to fund these 2 projects. Also part of that funding strategy, and the board asked staff to move forward to apply for a literary fund loan through the state, and that's this resolution that the board is considering this morning. The school board recently took it up for consideration and approved it. That is attached, you see, as a second document on board docs. They have approved the resolution on their behalf. The Board of Supervisors also does need to approve the resolution for authorization for staff to move forward with this application.
Are there any questions? You're turning off your mic.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion that the Board of Supervisors adopts the resolution that authorizes the Culpeper County School Board to apply for a literary fund loan to the Virginia Board of Education for the purpose of borrowing up to $25 million for the construction of the new elementary school number 7.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion is carried. Our next item of business is the board will consider approving a contract to Arthur Construction to construct and hard surface the parking and trails at Len Park. Mr. McLaren, would you like to introduce this, or should we have Mr. Hardy come up?
Mr. Chairman, it takes a team to get any project done. We got a number of folks here that could touch on this, including Director Hardy, Director Howard, and Mr. Alan Culpeper from procurement standing in the back. But this contract, and Mr. Weimer, who's sitting over there, is prepared and looked at the contract as well. The contract is approved, ready for the board's motion to approve. It's attached with the exhibits for consideration. The funds for this project have been previously appropriated. If there are any questions, I'm going to defer to Director Hardy on this, but it's ready for board action. So,
Is there any questions? Mr. Underwood.
Just real quick, and because I admit I do my best to get prepared for these meetings, but this contract is more than 100 pages long, so I admit I did not make it through all 100 pages. It's true. So if I could get a high-level summary of how much we're spending and how we chose what this was, that would be great.
Mr. Culpeper, come on up.
Thank you, Mr. Underwood, members of the board. To emphasize on your question, could you repeat your question?
Just how much are we
Something-
spending?
Okay.
And what, yeah.
Okay. Right now, we've elected to go with phases 1 and 2, and this is a total contract price of $202,848,000. We had a total of 8 bidders submitting bids. They were all well within the tight range of this. This is about, I believe it's $6,000 lower than the next lowest bid. We did find Arthur Construction to be the lowest responsible bidder. We're looking at a turnaround time of 10 days for the construction of the parking lot and trails that are required by the county's Parks and Recreation.
Tell me also either how many linear feet or square feet, just so I can put the 200,000 in context.
Square feet, I don't have that number in front of me
Linear would be
right now.
great, or just what, in general, like, they're paving a parking lot and some trails, I'm just trying to get the scope.
Okay, I'm going to refer to Mr. Hardy. I do know the parking lot, I'm just guessing, it's about 100, maybe about 100-foot parking space, I'm guessing. As far as paving trails, I'm going to say at least 2 to 3 miles maybe, but I am unsure of that.
That's it, sounds like a great process, reasonable price, and I'm supportive.
Is that a motion?
I would prefer to defer to the supervisor representing the district.
And also that part of the funding that came from this is also part of the community funding that we got from the federal government too. So it is not all coming out of our budget, but we got grant money for that. But I will issue a motion to approve the contract to Arthur Construction to construct and hard surface the parking lot and trails at Len Park.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
Yes, thank you very much. I'm sincerely appreciative of this. That's a lot easier.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion is carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Committee reports, Public Works, Mr. Underwood.
We did not meet.
Personnel, Matt, there is nothing to forward. Building and Grounds, Supervisor Lee.
Mr. Chairman, there are no action items from Buildings and Grounds.
Rules Committee, Ms. Gogino.
No action items.
E911 Committee, Supervisor Bates. Public Safety Committee, Supervisor Bates.
To the board to appropriate $220,000 from the Culpeper County Volunteer Fire and Rescue Association budget to support the purchase of TECC trauma kits and associated gear as presented, and recommended the use of 50% of grant funds for the active shooter high threat work group training.
We have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Moving on to item number 7, Economic Development Report. We have Winona Pritz with her today to give us this report. Come on up, Ms. Pritz.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for having me in place of Brian today. I'm excited to share with you guys everything that we've got going on next week for National Economic Development Week. This is taking place from May 12th through the 16th. All of these events that we have going on are related to our strategic plan goals 2.1, 2.2, and 3.1, related to strengthening our brands as well as building robust business supports and assistance programs. So to kick it off, we have our Culpeper County Conference. This is our 3rd year that we are hosting this event. C3 will be held on May 13th, that's Tuesday, over at Germanna Community College Daniel Technology Center. It will be from 8:30 to 1:30. We'll kick it off with our breakfast and networking again, followed by 3 one-hour sessions. This is a little bit different this year. As you guys may recall, every year we mix up the structure of those sessions depending on the feedback that we receive from our business community about what resources and workshops they're interested in. So this year we'll have 3 one-hour sessions with 2 topic choices for each session. We do have here a list of those sessions for you. Session 1 will kick off with social media for small businesses, or building a strong financial foundation. So our attendees will choose which session is most interesting to them. We'll have a short break, and session 2 will focus on Branding 101 and the Homepreneurs Toolkit. This is new. This session on Homepreneurs Toolkit is actually going to be a panel. So we'll have a couple of panelists that are focusing on specific needs and issues that home-based businesses may encounter. So that's a little bit different this year. And then our session 3 will focus on sales and efficiencies in your business. We'll follow this up with our keynote speaker, Andy. He is currently the director of the Laurel Ridge Small Business Development Center, will be our keynote speaker this year. Next up, on Wednesday, the 14th, we have our Culpeper Business Appreciation Reception. This is just an event that celebrates our Culpeper businesses and essentially thanks them for being located in here, and we want to recognize them. That'll be held over at the Mulberry at Old Trade Brewery again from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Refreshments will be provided, and other items are available for purchase. RSVPs for this event and registration for the Culpeper County Conference can be found on our website, beculpeperlocal.com/EDW. And finally, to finish up the week, we have information on the Child Care Investment Luncheon. This is going to be hosted by Foundation First. They are a nonprofit, a regional nonprofit focused on early childhood development programs, which includes Culpeper County. This event will be Thursday the 15th, held at Stevensburg Ridge in Spotsylvania from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. It'll have a keynote speaker, Jason L. Kuby. He's the current president of Virginia Economic Development Partnership, which is our statewide regional economic development program. There will be a panel focused on solution-based examples that businesses can participate in. We have reserved a table specifically for Culpeper County businesses. So any businesses that are looking to attend this event can register at beculpeperlocal.com/EDW, and we'll have a Culpeper-specific table for them. That is all I have for you guys today. Any questions?
Thank you very much. Any
Thank you,
questions? Thank you. All right, that brings us to our county administrator's report. Mr. McLaren.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you mentioned earlier, when we read the proclamation for Municipal Clerks Week, you recognized Ms. Ellis. She has been elected president of the VMCA, congratulations to her. And I'm going to skip right into item B there. We have a set of folks that have been very patient with our board meeting this morning, which I appreciate. I know they're all anxious to get back to work because they're great public service employees. And we do have we're very fortunate, Mr. Chairman, you've alluded to it, a number of board members have already done that today numerous times, which I do appreciate. It is important to recognize folks from time to time. You deal with a lot as a public service person, employee at times. You know, our county has grown a lot over the past 25 years that I've been here. You all have seen it as residents as well, and it takes a good team to keep the ship moving in the right direction. And I think we do have a good team. We always are looking for improvements, and we'll continue to do that. But I just wanted to take a moment this morning, Mr. Chairman. We're actually in the afternoon. I apologize. We're at 12:01, and I know we're into lunch hours for these fine folks. But if you could come up front and hand out these service awards. These folks were elected by their peers. As I mentioned, we have a few hundred folks that work throughout the county, but these folks were selected by their peers, and I think that's pretty special too, because they are recognized amongst each other. And as I'm not going to read those blurbs, please take time if you have not on board docs to do that, but I will. If I call your name, please come up and meet the chairman up front. And we're going to start off with the Unsung Hero Award, and that's Michelle Cuccarini with the library and Tanya Hooser with Emergency Management Services.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next, Mr. Chairman, we have the Team Player Award, honoring someone who consistently supports their colleagues and strengthens the team through collaboration. It's Tiffany Diggs with Options and Tracy Vanderwall with the Sheriff's Office.
Thank you very much.
Next up, we have the Above and Beyond, celebrating an individual who continually goes the extra mile to exceed expectations. We just saw her up here up front, Winona Pritz with Economic Development, and Shauna Southard, the County Attorney's Office. Rising Star. We have a few of them, but these are just two. recognizing a newer team member already making a significant impact with their drive and talent. It's Kyle Wenzel with the Sheriff's Office and Melinda Barker with Animal Services. Leadership in action. For someone who leads by example, inspires others, motivates them around to achieve more. Andrew Hardy, Director of Parks and Recreation, and Jason Clark with the Sheriff's Office.
Thank you very much. Andrew, congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Innovator, awarded to someone who brings fresh ideas and creative improvements to how we work. We would definitely need that. We have Haley Dunn with the Sheriff's Office and Joe Kuntz with Parks and Recreation.
Joe, thank you.
Customer Champion, honor and exceptional dedication to provide an outstanding service to both internal and external customers. I expect that for all our public employees, but these two guys you see around a lot, and I know they do a lot for the county. Edwin Morales and Jordan Meredith.
Which one, Edwin or?
Yes,
Edwin, there we go.
Thank you.
George, thank you.
Positive energy, recognize an individual whose enthusiasm, kindness, and attitude brighten the workplace every day. Caitlin Lawrence with Human Resources. And Morgan Green with Planning and Zoning.
Hang on, Morgan, we've got two.
Thank you so
Congratulations, thank you.
Problem solver, celebrating a go-to person. You got to have those who consistently find smart, effective solutions to tough challenges. Anthony Sochek with IT and Katie Resendez, Planning and Zoning. And Mr. Chairman, the final award is dependability. We save that to last because we know that we can depend on them to be here to the bitter end. It's awarded to someone you can always count on, reliable, responsible, and consistently delivering results. Pam Schiermeyer and Kayla Davis.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Supervisor Deal, would you read us into closed session?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we enter into closed session to discuss pursuant to Virginia Code Section 2.2-3711A1 and 4. The board will discuss and consider a citizen appointment to the Agricultural and Forestal District Advisory Committee. 2, pursuant to Virginia Code Section 2.2-3711A7 and 8. The board will consult with legal counsel regarding a specific legal matter pertaining to probate litigation where such consultation or briefing in an open meeting would adversely affect the negotiating or litigating posture of the public body and requiring the provision of legal advice by such counsel where if made public initially, the legal position of the board county would be adversely affected. 3, pursuant to Code Section 2.2, 3711A, 6, 7, and 29, the board will discuss the potential award of a public contract involving the expenditure and/or the investment of public funds where competition or bargaining is involved, where if made public initially, the financial interest of the board county would be adversely affected.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. We are in closed session.